happening with Love for One Another charity? I know it's made over $1 million for donations, and you talked about a clinic and a daycare center and an art school. So where are all those projects now?
Well, we just purchased the land for the hospital, and hopefully there'll be educational facilities on the property. It's directly across from Paisley Park. And as you say, we've given away a lot of money, and I found out recently that money is sort of like blood. If you hoard it and keep it all tied up amongst yourself, you sooner or later get sick. So we just try to keep it in circulation.
You raise a lot of money for helping people out. Already you've gifted $2 million to arts, education, and environment funds, right?
That much?
Yes, $2 million. Yes. And you auctioned off. I find it interesting. You played this guitar and you've auctioned it off.
Yeah.
How much did you raise?
We got $100,000 for that. Brother Lewis Hamilton.
Yes, $100,000. Do you have the guitar with you? Do you have it?
They're supposed to have it. Oh, okay.
This is the guitar. $100,000. Lewis Hamilton is a Formula One race car champion. That's you.
I know that you live in Minneapolis and your wife lives in Spain, but you are going to be going to Spain to open an orphanage or make an orphanage out of your home. Is that true? Why is that so important to you?
Well, first of all, I live in the world. I'm not of it. I live in it and everywhere. I work here in the United States a lot. Spain's very special to us because it's very peaceful. And we bought a home there and called it New Power Soul because the album that I released is what purchased the place. And we allow children to come up there and just play in the splendor of the estate. Just, we get them from down the hill a ways where it isn't so beautiful, you know? And just to let them know that if you believe something and you keep the vision alive in your mind, anything you want is possible.
Music to express itself, but he also was an incredible humanitarian, Don. He was a Jehovah's Witness, so he was not allowed to speak publicly about any of his good acts, any of his charitable activity. But I was one of the people in his life that helped him with all of that. And so, you know, he supported and helped to create something called Yes We Code. Yes We Code has now 15 major technology companies working with kids in the hood, getting them ready to have jobs in Silicon Valley. That was Prince. He worked with something called Green for All. I was the public face of that, but he put the money in. There are people that have solar panels on their houses right now in Oakland, California, that they don't know Prince paid for them. He was the kind of friend, kind of like you, Don. He doesn't care if you're having a good day. That's not when he's there. It's when you're having a bad day. He comes to the rescue. And there's so many people. I'll never forget, Don. I was in a plane that landed, and my phone rang, and it's Prince. And I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, where are her kids? Where are her kids? I said, what are you talking about? He goes, Lauryn Hill, where are her kids? He had found out that Lauryn had gotten in some trouble, and the first thing he wanted to know is, where are her kids and what can we do to help? Now, this is just how he was. I guarantee you, anybody struggling anywhere in the world, he was sending checks, he was making phone calls, but he did not want it to be known publicly. And he did not want us to say it, but I'm going to say it because the world needs to know that it wasn't just the music. The music was one way he tried to help the world, but he was helping every single day of his life.
Above all that.
And I'm sure people come to you all the time to support their charity. So why did you decide, okay, this is a charity I want to support, I want to team up with Van, I want to team up with Rosario for this one?
Well, mainly, like Van said, is that it's not political. We're at a place now in this country where we're going to have to work together and stop looking at each other's affiliation and start taking care of each other. I mean, it's desperate times.
Well, you probably don't know this, but this is not the first time. I mean, Prince does a lot of charity. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm just going to say that you do it.
Please do.
Because a lot of people don't realize that he's not just there performing. He's helping folks in various ways all the time. This is a remarkable young man. Yeah. I was going to say kid, but you know.
You say, cinnamon girl of mixed heritage, never knew the meaning of color lines. 9/11 turned that around when she got accused of this crime. So began the mass illusion, war on terror alibi. What's the use when the god of confusion keeps on telling the same lie? Why is that important for you to address some of the issues that we're facing today?
Well, it seems to be the age-old problem of prejudice and misunderstanding between so-called races. I mean, I wrote a song once about a large ball, black on one side, white on the other, and if you have a person about this big only seeing that one side, that's the way they think the world is. And unfortunately, in war, there's children dying on both sides. A child dying is a child dying. I mean, we really need to look at this and think seriously about what we're doing here. I almost think that we were taught race. It wasn't something that we're just born with. We all look different. We are all varied in our complexions and sizes, and you know, all that's wonderful. That's good, you know. But when we are put in boxes, I've always railed against that. So this isn't a new topic for me.
What was it that you were listening to in music today that made you say, I've got to put some more stuff out there? You have to do this.
Mainly, I sensed a great deal of negativity and entropy in the music. There's a disintegration going on that we really have to address. Our values have been lessened to a great degree. People can say all they want to, that there's no reason for these kids to listen to music and then go shoot somebody. But, you know, there's something that's triggering these buttons.
One of his lawyers, yeah. Yeah, you know, I think part of it is hard is that people are talking about him from the 80s, and he hated that. He really hated. No, he didn't hate the era. He loved it. He loved the 80s, but he had so many things that he wanted to do next. He had just gotten his catalog back. Phaedra Ellis Lampkins, who was his manager in the last years, young African-American woman from the labor movement, no legal background, went to war on his behalf with the music industry. He had just gotten his catalog back. So he was talking about wanting to do cartoons for children and be able to control his own music and help the children. There were so many things that he was trying to do now. And he cared so much just about ordinary people. When the Black Lives Matter people started protesting, he understood where they were coming from. He really did. He was a rebel when he was young as a musical guy. And he said, look, let's reach out to those kids. Let's go to Baltimore. But he said, I want them to become an economic force. Use your passion to be creative, to create apps, to create business, and to create jobs. And so that's why he started Yes We Code and all these other programs.
I just heard about that for the first time. That should have been national news. Yeah, well, he wouldn't have that, would he?
Well, he's a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. He is not. It's so hard to talk about your friend in the past. So, but they're not allowed to brag and I gave this money, I gave that money, give me my award. He hated that. He said, listen, I get enough attention. Lift up these people who are hurting. He would send money. Nobody knew where the money was coming from. But you got people watching right now have programs, youth programs, basketball programs that have money from him. They don't know. And I'm just saying that when you think about how great he was as a musician, just please understand that's a part of the greatness. That greatness was there all the time. The music was a part of it, but there were so many other ways that it expressed itself. And I just I just don't want people to think about him as only when we were in high school. He kept living, and he kept creating, and he kept giving. You got people with solar panels on their house in Oakland right now that don't know Prince paid for them.
I know.
You've got kids are getting help through Yes We Code, Green for All. These are programs. I was the face of those programs, but it was his heart. It was his money. Listen, people weren't returning my phone calls, but if I say I'm calling because Prince wants me to, listen, I work for the president, and I work for Prince. Prince get a phone call returned faster than President Obama. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
Amen.
And Sean...